Hello everybody. Today I'm at Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. It's a bitterly cold day in Sunderland and I'm off to have a look at a memorial which brings up a story from one of the hottest days of 1878. That day the temperature was over 90 degrees in Sunderland and it was hot all through the day into the night. The spot we're going to is just down here and it's a story that affected two separate families and changed their lives forever. And it should be just over here. That's the headstone. Just a bit of background to this story. In 1878, a local man by the name of John Wallace was a pilot. He lived at 13 Peel Street, which is still there, the house, the street, and it is just close to Mowbray Park. So his job was to help ships enter the River Wear and also leave the port and so on. Now on that day there was a ship called the William Lecky which was in Sunderland in the Roads, which was a place where the ships could be sheltered and at anchor, and that was going off to Montevideo in Uruguay. Also on that ship was a steward, a cook by the name of Robert Vest. Robert had been born in Kellow, but he lived in Sean with his wife and 5 daughters, and he had a job on this particular ship as he was a steward stroke cook for the 20 men who were going to be on this voyage all the way up to South America. Now the captain of the ship, I believe it was Captain Fletcher, was quite a strict man, and on that day, as I said, it was one of the hottest days of the year. He'd come on board and had seen Robert Vest sort of collapsed, waving his arms around, and he was under the impression that he was drunk, so he chastised him, and John Wallace, the pilot, backed up the captain. Now just a bit of background to Robert Vest. As I said, he was born in Kellow, but the name was originally West many generations before. They were born in Sunderland, the West family, and somehow it changed to Vest for this particular branch of them. Now Robert, as a young man, had joined the army and he served out in the Crimean War. He got injured there. He was out in the Indian Mutiny, I believe, as well, and had several wounds and suffered from heat stroke, and ever since he left he had suffered from depression and all sorts of stuff, and he had quite a lot of dark thoughts. He was obsessed with, I believe, with murder, and he always had this impression that one day he would hang. So just come round here. Now Robert had hostility towards the captain and John Wallace, the pilot, so he went underneath deck, hid himself in a water closet and waited for John to walk past, and when he did, he ambushed him with a knife. It was a horrific attack. This was no fight scrap, it was a pre-planned, basically effectively murder of John. He suffered some horrific injuries, and Robert was put into irons by the rest of the crew, and the police were flag was raised for the police to come out to the ship, and so Robert was taken off there into police custody. Now Victorian justice was quite quick, and on the 12th of July at Durham, the judge read out the following statement. Bear with me, I'll just get it off my phone. The jury had found him guilty of the murder. They had pleaded for mercy. The defence had tried to plead insanity, but it was a weak case for insanity because it was pre-planned. It wasn't a spur of the moment thing. He took his time to think of the attack and put it into operation. So Justice Bagley, on the 12th of July at Durham Crown Court, the following words were read. It remains for me only to pass the sentence upon you in the terms of the law, and that is you be taken to the place from whence you came, and from thence to the place of execution, and shall be then hanged by the neck until you shall be dead, and your body shall be after buried in the prison in which you shall be last confined after this your conviction, and may God have mercy upon your soul. So there were the final words of the judge. The black cap had been put on, and it was the only sentence available to him. There was people who were did like a little campaign, but there was no reprieve when it went off to like the Home Secretary at the time. So on I think it was the 24th of July, his wife and the 5 daughters made the grim journey to Durham to see their husband and father for one last particular time. He was given a little bit extra time to spend with them, and they were watched by the prison guards, and then his wife and the 5 daughters left to go back to see him, knowing that they would never ever see Robert ever again, and next all they would hear would be the death reports of that. Now at the same time there was a waxworks on the High Street in Sunderland, and on the 18th of July that already had a wax model of Robert Vest. What's that? So that's three weeks or so after the murder. They'd already sort of put this waxwork together for people to come and pay and have a look at the infamous Robert Vest itself. So Marwood, the well-known Victorian executioner, he made the journey up to Durham. I think he's from Hornchurch, and he got the execution set up, and it was the 30th of July when Robert was hanged until he was dead. Now, obviously, the wife of Robert hadn't done anything wrong. It wasn't her fault or anything like that, and there was a lot of sympathy for her because obviously the death of her husband meant probably destitution for the family. So a few kind people around the area raised money to help her out. Which sometimes happened, because as I said, it wasn't anything that she had particularly done. And as for John Wallace, he'd been buried at this particular spot at Bishopwearmouth a few days after his murder. And as you can see, I'll show you his headstone. In memory of John Wallace, who departed this life June the 26th, 1878, aged 62 years. So as you see, we're right next to one of the main routes through Bishopwearmouth Cemetery, so I bet many people have walked past this over the years. And there isn't any clues to the tragic events of that particular day, and so on. Also of Helen Brands Wallace, she was daughter of the above, who departed this life February the 15th, 1844, aged 3 years, and was interred in the Gill Cemetery. That's the long gone cemetery down near the centre of town. John, when she died back in 1844, there was actually a headstone which remembered the daughter Helen, but obviously that's been lost to history along with all the rest of those particular memorials. So that's the headstone, John Wallace. But as I said, when you think about it, the murder took place on the 26th of June 1878, and what was it, just over a month later his murderer had been executed. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like, and if you want to, click on the subscribe option so you can get some more future ones on there. Thank you very much. Is that you, Jade?